Hello and welcome to Love from the Other Side. If it's your first time here or you are a returning viewer, we are so glad that you're here. And perhaps you too are in need of hope and comfort, the type that we hope that stories like this bring you. We bring you stories from around the world of people who have shared their near-death experiences. We know that you may not agree with everything that they share, but we do ask that all comments be kept respectful and kind. In May 2015, I had a son named Landon. I also had an older son in 2011 named Preston. At that time, I had a stroke after he was born, and they used mannitol, which is a high-powered medicine used to drain fluid from people's brains. I have a history of hydrocephalus, which is water on the brain. After he was released from the hospital and we went home, I couldn't hear and went to the ER. I was there forever and they ran every test possible. I had repeat CT scans to check where the fluid level was, so they were going to send me home and they told me to call a ride and I walked out of the room. The ER doctors really didn't know what to do with me anymore. My hearing came back and they were going to send me home. They told me to call a ride and walked out of the room. The next thing I knew, before I got my phone out of my pocket, the nurse came back in and said, "Don't call, you just had a seizure and you're going to be airlifted to Denver." At first, I was like, "You were just here a second ago dismissing me like nothing's wrong." She apologized profusely and said, "We deal with gunshot wounds, car accidents, stabbings. This is more serious than our comfort zone." I was like, "Whatever, you're in a hospital." I had an attitude that day because I was away from my kids, hungry, felt like nobody believed me, and they were just passing the buck to somebody else. There was a guy that came in the room with the nurse, and she introduced him as my pilot. I said, "You're cute. Can I sit up front with you?" He said, "Probably better if you rode in the back." I kept having several seizures, going in and out of consciousness. Everything went really black, and then everything went incredibly brilliant white, and I saw a hand reach for me. I felt a warmth of comfort as I took the hand. I was being pulled out of my body. I was instantly in an area that was so peaceful and beautiful. I have never felt anything like it, and the colors were amazing. I was constantly looking around and asked if I was dead, or if this figure was God. He let me take in the love and said he was not God, but he would take me there. I'm saying God because that's my belief of a higher power. This being of energy appeared in front of me. I asked, "Are you God?" There was no gender features, just a feeling of love. It felt like the immense love that you have for a baby, for those who have had children. He was saying, "If that's how you refer to me, I am the divine, the I am." I was completely shell-shocked and being completely goofy. I said, "Can you please take human form because it's weird talking to an entity?" I started asking a million questions. I said, "I want to see my kids. Are they here? I lost my twins in 2008. He replied, "Yes, they're here, but we talk first, then you can have as much time with them as you want." We talked about how everyone on earth is connected with each other. Every second we pass by strangers or someone crosses our mind, it's for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. He said, "Listen to me and I'll guide you through my way, always." I got to spend time with Josh and Jessie, my twins, and other pregnancies I didn't know I lost. It was the most amazing moment to be with my kids and have all the love that was there and all of the knowledge that I got to experience. The first person was back and said, "What do you want to do now?" I said, "What are my options?" He said, "You can do anything, go anywhere. This is completely on you now." And then suddenly, in that second, I remembered my life here and my kids, and I said, "I want to be with Preston and Landon. They are my life." The next thing I know, I woke up in the hospital in Denver 5 days later, seriously confused. It was a Friday when I went into the ER and a Wednesday morning when I woke up. That is our first experience for today, and now for our second, it comes to us from another woman who also had an experience while in the hospital. July 2013. I was 30 years old and in the hospital fighting for my life in the ICU step-down unit. This particular day, my nurse entered the room with my blood products and informed me that my blood work showed that I needed another blood transfusion. She hooked me up, watched me for the first 15 minutes, then left to tend to her other patients. But she informed me that she would be back and if I needed anything before then to push my call button, which she had laid on the table right beside my chair. She wasn't gone 5 minutes before I knew I was in trouble. I started sweating profusely out of nowhere, and I was so wet I looked like I stepped out of the shower without drying off. It became very hard to breathe, and I also became very weak. I was able to push the call light and stay conscious until the aide came in. She asked me if I was hot. I just stated barely to her, "I can't breathe," and everything went dark. After everything went dark, I was still very aware and could hear everything that was happening in my room. But almost what seems like simultaneously, my late grandma, who was like a mother to me, was there reaching out to me. And when I took her hand, she took me to the other side. There were no body forms, just our spirits, but I recognized her spirit as the previous earthly body form. We were standing on the edge of this gorgeous meadow, full of the most beautiful wildflowers you could ever imagine, and the colors there are so beautiful and vibrant. They are unexplainable unless you have been there yourself. There is no sense of time on the other side. I felt like I had spent forever with my grandma, but it was only a minute. Immediately, I felt warmth, extreme happiness. All of my horrible earthly pain was gone. While communicating with my grandma, there were no words said because there aren't bodies, but you still can communicate. She told me she was happy. She was glad to be here, and for me, but that it wasn't my time. She told me I needed to go back so I could raise my 3 young kids, ages 4, 6, and 8. During the time I was able to spend with my grandma, I kept getting flashes of what was happening with my body in the hospital room. The aide pushed the code blue button, which rushed about 10 staff to my room. My nurse said, "Oh my gosh, her lips and nail beds are blue. Let's get her back into bed." My nurse and another went back and forth trying to decide on the best course of action. My nurse decided on administering meds direct into my line. As she did this, my grandma sent my soul back. Everything went black. I felt like I was falling, spiraling down until bam, I was back. And I was mad that I was sent back to face this absolute pain and agony I was feeling immediately. Before this NDE took place, I was scared to die, scared to leave my kids and loved ones behind, scared that I wouldn't ever see my grandma again. From the time I went back into this physical body, I have had this overwhelming peace that has taken over all of my thoughts and body. I have no worries. I'm not scared at all, in honesty, and I'm excited for the time to come where I am called home and I can stay in the warmth, pure happiness, painless, whole existence. And now we bring you our third experience from Kristen, who also had a health condition and was in the ICU for surgery. I've been asked multiple times to share my NDE. It's uncomfortable for me to share, but it's part of the mission I returned with, so to speak, to get out of my comfort zone and help others. So here's my experience. I was in ICU after having a major back surgery. I coded and died, and my mom witnessed it all. What I saw was an inky curtain-like energy field around me. It was black, but not all black. It's hard to put into words. There were sounds like music, but not music as we know it. As I moved through the black curtain, I felt love that was so immense it's indescribable, and I can still feel it today. There were colors everywhere, but they don't exist here. I saw no beings of any kind, yet I knew there were souls I knew around me, and souls who recognized me, but I did not know. It was like being in a crowd, not visually, but in a knowing sense. I was not separate from anyone, including those still here. It's not another place. It's like going through a doorway. I have cerebral palsy in this body, but I moved with complete freedom over there. I didn't have pain and didn't worry about anyone here. I was home. I heard a telepathic conversation going on, and I was told I needed to come back and share about the love, and that I needed to be here to help others live with peace and share what I had experienced. I can still see colors completely differently, but the world around me is flat, one-dimensional. I don't live here. It's not home. It's an experience, nothing more. And peace is the key. Love is the key. Part of the knowing I returned with and was told to share is that there are many across what we call time who have shared the message of this life. It's not just one messenger. We're meant to learn from each source of information, including the dark ones. They all have lessons to teach us, and we're meant to learn. What we believe and go through here is like a drop of water in an immense ocean. It's only a fraction of truth. None of what we learn is all there is. But we go through hard times to teach us our resilience, to help us with being compassionate even when it seems impossible, and to love no matter what we experience. Before I died, I was scared to live. I existed. Now I'm a non-denominational fire department chaplain. I work with hospice patients and their families. I have worked with EMS and surprisingly being led to share this often. I'm a private person. I don't like the spotlight, but I'm finding myself in situations where I can't be that way anymore. I had to grow and embrace life. This is my personal journey. I send love to every one of you and thank you for becoming a part of my journey here. Thank you for joining us today on these 3 near-death experiences. I hope that you gained something from each one of them. Again, I know that you will not agree with everything said in each experience, but keep in mind that it is their personal experience. Again, I ask that all comments be kept respectful and kind. Until next time, God bless.